Hey G-Builders, this is Kiko here at Kiko Daily, and I am finally doing another video. I know I haven't done one in quite a while. I haven't been feeling very well, and I've been really busy, but yay, I'm finally doing another one. Before I go into what we're doing today in this video, I wanted to give a quick shout out over to the guys over at Zeonic Earth Outpost. If you like Gunpla and you like kind of like a podcast type of style, go and head over there and check out their channel. I will link it down below. So what are we talking about today? Today we will be talking about panel lining, something really optional for a lot of the kits that you do, but it kind of makes a huge difference. So what I will be talking about is what is panel lining, and then 2, basically why you would panel line, and then 3, all the methods that I've currently learned about how to do panel lining. Let's start building. So what is a panel line? A panel line is pretty much the lines and grooves within a Gundam part or a model part. For a lot of people, that's what it is. For me, it's a little bit different. I like to say panel line and kind of generalize it, and it's pretty much the details of the Gundam part or model part itself. With panel lining, what we will be doing is accenting the details as well as the lines using ink. So what is the reason for panel lining? One of the main reasons is, if you can see here, this piece is not panel lined and it's a little bit dull and you can't really see many of the details. As you can see here in this part, it's actually partially panel lined, and you can kind of see the difference between the two, panel lined and not panel lined. It makes a huge difference. You can kind of see the detail a little bit more than the other piece. So the great thing about panel lining is that you don't necessarily need to do it. It's an optional thing, but if you do it, then it takes your kit to a whole different level. When you really think about it, when a Gundam goes out to battle, it will accumulate oil and it would accumulate dirt within all of the details. So in turn, if you are doing panel lining, you're making your Gunpla actually more realistic. So we're going to continue on and talk a little bit about the methods of panel lining. The very first method that we will be talking about is the Gundam marker. Gundam marker is pretty much a brand. You can use any type of marker that you want. That is a little bit of a thin tip because you do want to fit it between the lines. For the Gundam marker, there are 2 types. They have a thin and a thick, so remember to get the correct pen. Gundam markers do come in a variety of colors. I normally see it in black and gray. There's some brown and red as well. The amazing thing about Gundam markers is that it is the easiest method to use out of all the different methods. You literally just draw around the borders and draw between the lines. If you like building on the go, this is probably one of the more preferred methods since it's super easy to carry it with you. If you do mess up, then all you need to do is clean it with your thumb. If that doesn't work, you can always use an eraser. Second method that a lot of people use to do panel lining is actually thinning out paint. This is one of the more difficult methods to do because you have to do a lot of trial and error on how to thin your paint and getting the ratio correct. The great thing about paint though is that you can actually use any color that you would want. You have the option as well to use different types of paint. When thinning out your paint, you want to use the correct thinner. I've seen thinner, lighter fluid, or water, so it depends on the paint. I normally see people use acrylic paint for panel lining. To thin out your paint, all you have to do is take a couple scoops of paint out and putting it into a dish and then dropping a couple of drops of thinner, water, or lighter fluid depending on your paint. The consistency of your paint should be rather runny so that when you apply it with your brush, it can run through all the panel lines. I will show you how to apply the paint with a brush on the next method. The third method is actually really similar to the second method, except that you are using a pre-thinned paint. Tamiya sells a pre-thinned paint called Panel-Line Accent Color, and it is very simple to use, and you can buy it online. The great thing about the Tamiya Panel-Line Accent Color is that there is a small brush inside the cap already. It's actually one of my preferred methods of panel lining because it's so easy and everything is already thinned out for you, so you don't have to really worry about that. And it also comes in multiple colors, 4 so far that I have seen. If you are using a brush to panel line, then all you have to do is dip it into the paint and remove the majority of the excess if you need to, and then lightly tap on the corners or on the panel line, and what you would see is that it would actually run into all of the details. Don't worry about the marks that are left behind. I will teach you how to clean them up next. So here's the difference between the couple different methods, the Gundam marker and the paint. The paint is a little bit more lighter, but it kind of makes it a little bit more cleaner. As you saw previously, there are a couple of marks that are left behind. So in order to clean it, all you need to do is have a cotton swab and then some thinner. What you would do is put some thinner onto the cotton swab and then kind of wipe a little bit of the excess off onto a paper towel or a tissue paper, because you don't want too much thinner on the cotton swab itself. And then what you would do is lightly kind of rub the mark away. And if you are doing it on a panel line itself, do it perpendicularly to the line so that you don't rub too much of it off. So the very last method that I am going to be talking about is something that I learned relatively recently, and it is using a comic pen nib holder. It's basically a calligraphy pen just without the ink. So with this method, it's actually very similar to method 2 and 3, but instead of using a brush, you are using the comic pen. So what you do is you take the tip of the nib and dip it into the already thinned out paint. And what you would do is you would draw pretty much on the line itself or around the details. And what it would do is similar to the brush, where it kind of fills in the rest of the details with the runny thinned out paint. This method does need to take some practice because you aren't sure when the paint's actually going to come out after you draw it. So once you kind of get used to how to do it, it is actually very easy to do. So the reason to use a comic pen is because the nib is actually really tiny, and it works perfectly with the panel line, and it makes it a much cleaner way of doing it versus the brush. The brush, you kind of leave more marks than using the comic pen. So as you can see, all these are the different methods, and each one has its own thing. It's really up to you which way you want to do it. They all have pretty much the same result. After you are done with the comic pen, it's very easy to clean up. All you have to do is use a tissue paper, or if there is dry paint on there, you can use a little bit of thinner. So I purchased my comic pen on Amazon, and what it came with was a bunch of nibs and the stick to hold the nib itself. So that's it for the panel lining video. If you guys have any other different methods on panel lining, please leave a comment down below. I love learning about other methods to panel line. Lastly, I want to thank everybody that has been following me on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. You guys are freaking amazing. If you wanted to subscribe to the YouTube channel, you can click down below. Stay tuned for more new videos, and happy building, G-Builders!